Hey YouTube, T. Holtz here. Taking a look at my outdoor garden container pond. Been a few weeks since my last update. Getting near the, well, we're in the beginning of August. Probably another 5-6 weeks maybe I'll leave this outside. Maybe to the end of September, depending on how the weather holds up. Very hot out here today. As you can see, there are quite a lot of these floating plants, the water lettuce and the water hyacinths on top of the pond. Since this is in the shade most of the day, this is what has grown this summer. If this was in the direct sunlight, I would have been taking these plants out of this pond all summer long. But since it's in shade most of the day, they've grown slowly, which is good. I really don't need them to grow fast and then be throwing them out. So their pace of their growing has been just about perfect. I started out with 4 of these plants, 2 of each, 2 water lettuce, 2 water hyacinth, and as you can see, there's a lot more than that right now. This blue rush is probably 3 or 4 feet tall, and not much over here on the cat's tail. I'll try something else next year, see what kind of bog plants are good for areas that are not in direct sunlight. And just performed a water change on here, which I do every week. And you can see some movement there in the bottom. I still have the same 3 Sarasa comet goldfish that I put in here back in May. They've been doing quite well. We've been feeding them small amounts of flake food, some sticks, pond fish, I mean. They look like sticks, pond fish food. They look like little sticks. And duckweed also. They absolutely love the duckweed, of course. Got this Tetra fountain filter doing very well. Keeps the water nice and clean. I do change it once a week. I do clean out the filter pad once a week because all kinds of dirt does fall in here from the trees, and when it rains it gets dirty, so that the filter does get dirty. I put a piece of batting, I wrap it around the sponge that comes in this filter, that came with the filter. It was a coarse sponge, and in order to get it to filter a little bit better, I put a piece of batting, wrapped it around the sponge, and that filters it, gets the fine particles out a little bit better. You see, it's a windy day or breezy day. It spreads out the water real fine. And let's see, you can see some movement there underneath the pond plants of my 3 Sarasa comet goldfish. Water temperature today is about 72 degrees. It really hasn't gotten much more than that. I think I saw like 78 once. As it's protected by the tree and the shade, it really hasn't heated up that much. I have below the surface there 4 Amazon sword plants planted in small pots that I took out of one of my inside tanks. It was all runners that were coming off a large sword plant from inside, and pots are dirted, and they've been doing very well. They've grown quite a bit as well since I put them in here. I don't know what I'm going to do with those sword plants once the summer's over. I really don't have any place to put them inside. I also going to figure out what kind of lighting I need to get to keep these floating plants alive. They're cheap enough to buy, but I want to get some kind of a light that will shine on them all winter long to try to keep these floating plants going. I mean, if they died, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It only costs a few bucks to buy new ones, but I'd like to keep them alive anyway. I'll get some kind of a grow light because I'm going to move this whole pond inside at the end of September, inside as is, and shine some kind of a light on it. Keep everything alive. The bog plants I'm not really worried about. They're not going to stay alive, but I would like the floating plants to be alive. And also next spring, before I put it out here, I'm going to drill some holes in it, just under the lip of it, so it drains water. We've had a lot of rain here the last couple weeks, and I find myself coming outside at 3 o'clock in the morning, draining water out of it so it doesn't overflow. Really don't want it overflowing, and maybe the fish might float right out. So we come out here after a rainstorm or during a big rainstorm and drain the water out by hand. The holes will prevent that prevent it from overflowing. Not something that I thought of, however, before putting this out here. I've been very happy with it. Everything has worked out really good. Couldn't have worked out better, really. If you're thinking of doing something like this next year, you want to put fish outside in a small container pond. This is 40 gallons. This Tetra fountain filter, which is rated for ponds less than 100 gallons, works very well. I highly recommend it. It does come with different fountain heads, but for a small pond like this one that shoots the water out in this little bell formation is the best way to go. This way the water, as it's filtering, goes back into the pond. The other fountain heads would drain the pond out pretty quickly, as they send a stream up into the air that would get blown out of the pond and empty it out. That's about it for this update. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment if you want to. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Thank you.